My family skipped my hospital room until the doctor read my will out loud. The room was white and cold, and so quiet I could hear the machines breathing for me. I had been lying in that hospital bed for 11 days. 11 days of fluorescent lights and the smell of antiseptic and nurses who called me honey because they felt sorry for me. 11 days of watching the door, waiting, hoping. Nobody came, not my mother, not my sister. Not my brother Marcus, who lived 40 minutes away and drove past the hospital every single morning on his way to work. Not my Aunt Linda, who had sent me a birthday card every year for 32 years without missing once. Until this year, when I was in a hospital bed fighting for my life, and apparently that wasn't enough reason to break her routine. Nobody, just me. Me and the machines and the nurses who called me honey. And then, on the 11th day, something changed. The door opened, and it wasn't a nurse. It was Dr. Okafor, my attending physician, a tall Nigerian man with kind eyes and a voice like warm wood. He walked in slowly, deliberately, the way people walk when they are carrying something heavy. Behind him came a woman I didn't recognize, slim, professional, carrying a leather folder pressed against her chest like a shield. She introduced herself as Patricia Weston, an attorney. An attorney. I looked at Dr. Okafor. He looked at me. And in that moment, something passed between us, an understanding, a kind of quiet gravity, and he said the words that changed everything. "We've contacted your family," he said. "All of them, they'll be here within the hour." I almost laughed. I almost cried. I did neither. I just stared at the ceiling and thought about all the years I had spent trying to earn their love, trying to be enough, trying to shrink myself into whatever shape they needed me to be. And I thought about the document sitting inside Patricia Weston's leather folder. The document that had apparently done in one phone call what 32 years of devotion could not. My will. They were coming because of my will, and I had something very important to say to each and every one of them. I lay back against the pillow. I steadied my breathing. I let the machines do their work, and I waited. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm really glad you're here today, even though this story is one of the hardest things I've ever put into words. My name is Diane. I'm 32 years old, and I grew up in a big family, the kind that looks perfect in Christmas photos and falls apart the second the camera goes away. I've been sharing stories on this channel for a while now, mostly about family, about survival, about finding yourself when the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally didn't. This story is different from anything I've shared before. This one is about the 11 days I spent alone in a hospital room after emergency surgery, and what happened when a lawyer walked in with my will and my family suddenly remembered I existed. I want to be honest with you. I debated sharing this for a long time. It's deeply personal. It involves people I still love, even after everything. But I also believe that some stories need to be told, not for revenge, not for drama, but because somewhere out there, somebody is lying in their own metaphorical hospital bed, waiting for people who aren't coming, and they need to hear that they are not alone. So, grab a drink, get comfortable. This is my story. To understand what happened in that hospital room, you need to understand my family. And to understand my family, you need to start at the beginning. I was born the middle child of 3. My older brother Marcus is 4 years older than me, and my younger sister Renee is 3 years younger. We grew up in a mid-sized city in Ohio, in a nice house in a quiet neighborhood, with a mother named Carol who baked casseroles for sick neighbors and volunteered at the church gift shop every Christmas. From the outside, we were the picture of stability. On the inside, we had a hierarchy, and I was at the bottom of it. Marcus was the golden child, there's no other way to say it. He was athletic and charming, and he looked exactly like my father, which my mother treated almost as a spiritual gift. When Marcus walked into a room, my mother's whole face changed. Lit up. Softened. I used to watch it happen from across the room the way you watch a sunset, beautiful and not meant for you. Renee was the baby, the delicate one, the one who cried prettily and got hugged first. She had a way of making herself the emotional center of every situation without appearing to try. When something bad happened, everyone asked how Renee was doing. Renee needed support. Renee needed gentleness. Renee was sensitive. And me, I was the capable one, the responsible one, the one who didn't need anything because she always figured it out. I didn't choose that role. It was assigned to me before I was old enough to understand what it meant. When I was 7 and Marcus broke my favorite toy, my mother said, "You're the mature one, Diane, just let it go." When I was 12 and I didn't get invited to a birthday party and I cried about it, my mother said, "You're so strong, Diane, you'll be fine." When I was 16 and I was struggling in math and I asked for a tutor, she said, "You always figure things out, Diane, I'm sure you'll manage." I figured things out. I managed. I was fine. I was always fine because I had learned very early that not being fine was not an option for me. The emotional bandwidth in my family was a finite resource, and it was allocated to Marcus and Renee before I ever had a chance to ask for my share. My father, Robert, was quieter about it. He was a good man in a lot of ways, steady, reliable, never cruel. But he deferred to my mother on everything emotional, and my mother's emotional world had room for 2 children. I was the third. I learned to take up less space. By the time I was in high school, I had developed what I now recognize as a finely tuned performance of self-sufficiency. I got good grades without asking for help. I worked a part-time job at 16 to pay for my own school supplies. I drove myself to doctor's appointments. I handled my own problems. I became, in the language of my family, low maintenance. Low maintenance, as if a child is a household appliance. When I was 19, my father had a heart attack. It was serious. He spent 2 weeks in the hospital and the whole family descended on that place like a flock of frightened birds. My mother never left his side. Marcus drove in from college. Renee wept and was comforted and wept again. And I sat in the waiting room doing homework because I had a midterm in 3 days and someone had to keep functioning. Nobody asked me how I was doing. Not once. Not during the entire 2 weeks. My father survived. He came home. The family exhaled collectively and went back to normal. And I filed that experience in the growing cabinet in my mind under the heading, "This is how it is." I went to college on a partial scholarship and worked 2 jobs to cover the rest. My mother helped Marcus with his tuition. She told me she couldn't help both of us and that she knew I would find a way. I did find a way. I always found a way. After college, I moved to a different city, got a job in healthcare administration, built a life. I called home every Sunday. I remembered every birthday. I sent gifts at Christmas, drove home for Thanksgiving, showed up when I was supposed to show up. I maintained the relationship with a consistency and devotion that, looking back, was almost heroic given how little I received in return. The years passed. Marcus married a woman named Gretchen and had 2 kids and moved closer to my mother. Renee drifted in and out. She had a series of relationships, a series of jobs, a series of crises that required family mobilization. Each time Renee had a crisis, the family mobilized. Each time I had a quiet struggle, I handled it alone. I don't want to make myself sound bitter, because for most of those years I wasn't, not exactly. I had made a kind of peace with it. I had built a beautiful life outside my family, close friends, a career I was proud of, a therapist I saw every other week who helped me understand the dynamics I'd grown up inside. I had love in my life, real, reciprocal, nourishing love, just not from my family of origin. I kept showing up for them anyway. Not because I expected anything, but because I loved them, because they were mine. Because I still, somewhere deep and stubborn, believed that one day they would see me. Then I got sick. Not a cold, not something manageable. I'm talking about the kind of sick that changes the topography of your life, the kind that shows you, with brutal clarity, exactly who is in your corner and who is watching from a comfortable distance. It started with pain. A deep, insistent ache in my abdomen that I ignored for 2 weeks because I was, say it with me, fine. I could handle it. I would figure it out. And then one Tuesday morning, I collapsed in my kitchen at 6 a.m. and woke up in an ambulance with a paramedic squeezing my hand. Emergency surgery. A ruptured ovarian cyst that had caused internal bleeding. The surgeon told me afterward that if I had waited another few hours, the outcome would have been very different. I woke up from surgery alone. I called my mother from the hospital phone. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Mom," I said, "I had emergency surgery. I'm in the hospital." There was a pause. "Oh, Diane," she said, "is it serious?" "They said I almost died." Another pause, and then, "Well, you're okay now though, right? Because Marcus and Gretchen are coming for dinner this weekend and I was hoping you might call Renee. She's been having a really hard time lately." I held the phone against my chest for a long moment. Then I said, "Sure, Mom," and hung up. I told myself it was shock. People react badly to scary news, they deflect, they minimize, they say the wrong thing. I gave my mother the benefit of the doubt because I had been giving her the benefit of the doubt my entire life, and I was very practiced at it. I texted Marcus, "Hey, had emergency surgery yesterday. In the hospital for a while, just wanted you to know." He replied 4 hours later, "Wow, that sounds scary. Hope you feel better soon." And that was it. I texted Renee. She sent back a string of heart emojis, and then, 12 minutes later, a long message about a fight she'd had with her boyfriend, and could I please call her when I was feeling up to it because she really needed to talk. I stared at that message for a long time. I had just had emergency surgery. I had nearly died, and my sister's response was to ask me to be her emotional support while she navigated a disagreement with her boyfriend. I put the phone down and looked at the ceiling of my hospital room. Room 412, a single room which I was grateful for, a window that looked out onto a parking garage, a television mounted high on the wall that I never turned on because the silence felt more honest. I waited. Day 1 passed. Day 2. Day 3. I had visitors, a friend named Tamara who drove 2 hours to sit with me for an entire afternoon and bring me real food from the Turkish restaurant I loved. 2 colleagues from work who came together and stayed for an hour and made me laugh. My therapist, Dr. Ewan, who wasn't technically supposed to make house calls, but made an exception and sat with me for 90 minutes and let me cry without trying to fix it. My family did not come. My mother called on day 4. She asked how I was feeling and then spent 11 minutes telling me about a conflict at her church book club. When I mentioned, carefully, that it would mean a lot to me if she could visit, she said the drive was long and her back had been bothering her, and Marcus was handling some things at work and Renee wasn't in a good place right now. "I understand," I said, because that was what I always said. On day 5, Marcus called. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. He asked if I needed anything. I said it would be nice to have company. He said he'd see what he could do. He did not come. On day 7, my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, the card sender, the one I'd always felt a quiet kinship with, texted to say she'd heard I was in the hospital and she was praying for me. I thanked her. I told her any visit would be welcome. She said she would try. She did not come. I lay in that bed and I thought about things I had never let myself think before. I thought about all the casseroles my mother had made for sick neighbors, actual strangers, while her own daughter lay in a hospital room 40 minutes away. I thought about my father's hospitalization and how the entire family had flooded that waiting room and how no one had thought to ask how I was. I thought about Renee's crises and Marcus's milestones and every birthday remembered and every phone call returned and every benefit of every doubt. I thought about all of it clearly and quietly without flinching, and something shifted in me. Not broke, shifted, like a tectonic plate moving so slowly you don't notice it until the landscape has already changed. I asked a nurse for a notepad and a pen. I started writing. It began as a journal entry, just processing, just trying to find the shape of what I was feeling. But then it became something else, something more intentional. A document that had been living in the back of my mind for years, formless, waiting for a moment like this to crystallize. By day 8, I had the outline. By day 9, I had the full document. I called Patricia Weston, an estate attorney I had used 2 years ago to draw up a basic will. I told her I needed to revise it significantly. I told her the nature of the revisions. She was quiet for a moment, and then she said she would come to the hospital tomorrow. She came. We spoke for 2 hours. She took notes. She was professional and thorough and completely non-judgmental, which I appreciated more than I could say. She left with my instructions. She came back the next morning, day 10, with the revised documents. I read them carefully. I signed them, and then I asked her for one more thing. "I want you to contact them," I said. "My family. I want you to tell them that I'm revising my will and that there are provisions that directly affect them. Tell them the revision will be finalized and discussed in person. Tell them I've requested their presence." Patricia looked at me steadily. "And if they ask why you haven't contacted them directly, tell them I'm not well enough for phone calls," I said, which was not entirely untrue. and tell them that the attorney strongly recommends their presence." There was a brief pause. Then Patricia said, "You understand that once I make these calls, the nature of your relationship with your family may change permanently." "It already has," I said. "I just need them to understand that too." She nodded once, professionally. "I'll make the calls this afternoon." I lay back in my bed after she left and thought about what I just set in motion. I wasn't angry, that's the thing I want to be clear about. I was past anger. Anger is hot and urgent, and I had nothing hot or urgent left in me. What I had was clarity. A cool, steady, almost peaceful clarity about who I was, what I deserved, and what I was no longer willing to pretend. I'd spent 32 years trying to earn my place in my family. And in 9 days of a hospital bed, I'd finally understood. There was nothing to earn. The position was never available. The love had never been conditional on my behavior. It had simply never been equally distributed. That wasn't about what I'd done or not done. It was just the truth of my family, as much as the color of our hair or the shape of our faces. You can't earn your way into a love that was never allocated to you. And once I understood that, really, deeply understood it, everything else became very simple. Patricia called them that afternoon. I know because the calls started coming in around 4 o'clock. First, my mother. "Deanne, I just got a call from your lawyer. She said something about your will. What's going on? Are you dying?" Her voice was sharp, pitched with something I recognized, not quite fear, but adjacent to it, the fear of consequences. "I'm not dying, Mom," I said calmly. "I'm revising my estate planning documents. Ms. Weston will explain everything when she meets with you. I just wanted my family present." "Why do we need a lawyer? This feels very," she searched for the word, "dramatic, Diane. This feels dramatic." "I'll see you tomorrow, Mom." I hung up. Marcus called 20 minutes later. He skipped the pleasantries entirely. "Hey, what's this about a will? Gretchen and I are supposed to have dinner plans tomorrow." "Marcus," I said quietly, "I've been in the hospital for 9 days." Silence. "I know," he said, and then, "I've been meaning to come by." "I know you have," I said. "I'll see you tomorrow." I hung up before he could respond. Renee called at 6. She was already crying, which did not surprise me. "Diane, the lawyer called me and I'm really scared. What does this mean? Are you really sick? I should have come sooner. I wanted to come, but I've been going through so much." "Renee," I said, "take a breath." She took a breath. "I'm okay," I said. "I promise I'll see you tomorrow." "But are you mad at me?" she asked. "Because I feel like maybe you're mad at me and I can't handle that right now. I've been dealing with so much." "Renee," I kept my voice gentle. I had years of practice keeping my voice gentle with Renee. "Tomorrow, okay?" she sniffled. "Okay," she said quietly. And then, to my surprise, a fourth call came in. Aunt Linda, my mother's sister. Patricia had apparently exercised some discretion and added her to the list, which I had technically authorized by saying family without being specific. "Deanne, honey," Linda said. Her voice was different from the others. Quieter, more careful. "I got a call from your lawyer. I wanted to ask, are you all right?" "I'm all right," I said. "I should have come," she said, just that. No excuse following it. No deflection. Just 3 words sitting there, honest as stones. I felt something move in my chest. "It's okay, Linda." "No," she said softly. "It isn't, but I'm coming tomorrow. Whatever is happening with the will and everything, I'm coming because I should have been there already. I'm sorry, sweetheart." I held the phone against my cheek and breathed for a moment. "Thank you," I said. After I hung up, I was quiet for a long time. I hadn't expected that. I hadn't expected anyone to simply apologize, without defense, without explanation, without making their feelings the center of the moment. Just, "I should have been there, I'm sorry." It was such a small thing. Such an ordinary thing, and it cracked something open in me that I hadn't known was sealed. I cried that night. Not dramatically, not the kind of crying you see in movies, with heaving sobs and clenched fists. Just quiet, steady tears sliding down the sides of my face while I stared at the ceiling and let myself feel the full weight of everything I'd been holding. 9 days. 11 days total by the time they came. 11 days of being alone in a place where being alone felt like a verdict, like the universe's final answer to the question I'd been asking my whole life. But I also felt, for the first time in as long as I could remember, completely honest with myself. No more managing. No more minimizing. No more "I understand," and "it's okay," and "I'll be fine." I had looked at my life with clear eyes, from a hospital bed where the usual distractions weren't available, and I had seen it for exactly what it was. And I had made a decision. The next morning, day 11, I woke up early. I showered, which was still difficult but necessary. I sat up in bed and brushed my hair. I wasn't performing anything, I just wanted to be steady. I wanted to be the clearest, most present version of myself for what was coming. Dr. Ockhafer came in at 8:30 for his morning check. He was the one who had been most present with me during those 11 days, not in an overstepping way, just in the way of a good doctor who sees the whole patient. He had noticed my lack of visitors. He had asked once, gently, if I had support at home. I had told him the situation, briefly, without drama. He had nodded and not pushed further, but his eyes had carried a quiet concern ever since. "How are you feeling today?" he asked. "Nervous," I said, which was the most honest answer. "Your family is coming?" "Yes." He checked my chart, made a note. And then he paused at the door and said, "Whatever happens today, you know this already, but you did nothing wrong by expecting the people who love you to show up." I looked at him. "Thank you," I said. He nodded. And then he left. At 11 a.m., Patricia arrived. She set up a small table near my bed, nothing elaborate, just enough space to lay documents flat. She arranged her files with neat efficiency. She poured water from a pitcher the nurses had left. She did not make small talk, which I appreciated. At 11:45, I heard voices in the hallway. They were here. They came in a cluster, my mother first, because she was always first, leading every entrance the way she led every room. She looked exactly like herself, well-dressed, composed, carrying her usual air of someone managing a situation. Behind her, Marcus, hands in pockets, jaw set. Gretchen at his side, whom I hadn't expected but didn't mind. Renee behind them, her eyes already red-rimmed, her fingers twisted together in front of her. And at the back, quieter than the rest, Aunt Linda. The room was not large. With 6 additional people plus Patricia and the hospital furniture, it was suddenly very small. They arranged themselves the way families do, in the geometry of their old patterns, Marcus near my mother, Renee beside Marcus, Linda standing slightly apart. Gretchen hovered near the door. My mother looked at me. Her expression was complicated, there was worry there, and something that might have been guilt, and something defensive underneath it all. "Diane," she said. "Mom," I said. "Thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone. Please sit down." There were not enough chairs. A nurse appeared with 2 more. The sound of scraping chairs against linoleum filled the room. Everyone sat or leaned. Patricia remained standing. "I'll let Ms. Weston take it from here," I said. Patricia opened her folder with precise, unhurried movements. She looked around the room with the calm authority of someone who had done this many times before. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "I'll get right to the point. Ms. Calloway asked me to walk you through the revised provisions of her will, not because any of this is immediately relevant, but because she believes clarity is important. This is not a situation where the will is about to be executed. This is a conversation. I want that understood." Murmurs. My mother's hands tightened in her lap. "The previous will," Patricia continued, "left the majority of Ms. Calloway's estate, including her property, retirement accounts, and investment portfolio, distributed equally among her immediate family members, Carol Calloway, Marcus Calloway, and Renee Calloway. This was the arrangement as of approximately 14 months ago." She paused. "The revised will is different." The room went very still. "Under the revised will," Patricia said, "Ms. Calloway's estate is restructured as follows. Her property and primary financial assets are to be donated to 2 charitable organizations, a women's health nonprofit and a mental health access fund. Her personal belongings are to be distributed according to a separate document reflecting sentimental value. There is a monetary bequest of $20,000 left to 1 family member." She looked up. "To Linda Paulson, Ms. Calloway's aunt." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I had ever heard. Then my mother said, "What?" And Marcus said, "Are you serious?" And Renee made a sound, not words, just a sound, the sound of someone recalibrating. Linda sat very still, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes on me, just on me. I looked at Patricia. She gave me the smallest nod. "I want to explain," I said. My voice was steady. I was a little surprised by how steady it was. Not to justify, the will is the will, and these are my legal rights, and that's not what this conversation is about. I want to explain because I think you deserve to hear it directly from me, rather than nothing. My mother opened her mouth. I held up one hand. Please, I said. Let me finish. I'll give you time to respond. I promise. She closed her mouth. Her eyes were bright with tears or anger, I couldn't tell. I've been in this hospital for 11 days, I said. I had emergency surgery. The surgeon told me I almost died, and in 11 days, not one of you came. Silence. Tamara came. She drove 2 hours. My colleagues came. Dr. Ewan came, but my family, I stopped, steadied. I lay in this room and I had a lot of time to think. And what I thought about was every time in my life that I was the capable one, the low-maintenance one, the one who figured it out, the one who didn't need anything. And I thought about how I built that reputation honestly. I really did figure things out, I really was capable. But I also needed things. I needed to be seen. I needed someone to sometimes drive 40 minutes without being asked. I needed to not always be the one who called first. Marcus was looking at the floor. I'm not doing this to punish anyone, I continued. I want to be really clear about that. The will is what it is. If I die, that's where my things go, and that decision is made. But what I'm trying to say here today, while I'm alive and in front of you, is that I can't keep pretending. I can't keep being fine when I'm not fine. I can't keep showing up for people who don't show up for me and calling it family. I looked at Linda. Linda called and apologized. Before she even knew what was in the will, she just apologized. Linda's jaw tightened. She was holding herself very carefully together. I'm not asking for anything today, I said. I'm not asking you to be different. I'm not even asking for an apology, though I'm telling you it would mean something. What I'm asking for is honesty, from you and from myself. My mother broke first. She stood up, abruptly, the way you stand up when you've been sitting on something for too long. She crossed to my bedside in 3 steps and she looked down at me with a face that was fully cracked open, all the composure gone, just her face, just her, the raw material of a woman who had made choices and was now standing inside the consequences. I don't know why I didn't come, she said. Her voice was unsteady. I don't know. I've been asking myself since that lawyer called me. Why didn't I come? And I keep coming back to this. I think I knew you'd be okay. You're always okay. You're always Diane, and I know how that sounds. I know. She pressed her lips together. But the truth is I knew the moment you called me that it was bad. I heard it in your voice. And I think I was scared. I didn't know how to be the person you needed me to be because I'd spent so long deciding you didn't need me to be anything. The room was completely silent. I failed you, she said. Those 3 words, just like Linda's 3 words, I should have been there, clean and simple and devastating. I've been failing you for a long time, and I kept thinking there would be time to fix it later, that you would always be there, that you were solid. Her voice broke completely. And you almost weren't. Renee was crying quietly. I could hear it without looking. Marcus still had his eyes on the floor, but his hands were pressed together between his knees and the knuckles were white. He looked up slowly, and when he met my eyes, I saw something in his face I hadn't seen before, not quite shame, something more complicated than that. The look of someone who has known they were doing something wrong and kept doing it anyway, and is only now, in the full light of being seen, able to face it. I'm sorry, he said, roughly, like the words cost him something. I should have been here. I should have been here a long time ago. Renee finally looked up from her hands. Her face was a wreck, mascara, tears, that particular raw expression that Renee always had during crises, the one that usually brought everyone running. And I found, to my own surprise, that I did not resent it. I saw her differently in that moment, not as the family's emotional center hogging all the bandwidth, but as my little sister, who had learned just as early as I had how to survive in the family system we'd all been born into, just along different lines. I'm so sorry, Diane, she said. I knew I should have come, I knew, and I kept making it about me. I keep doing that. Her voice was small. I'm trying to stop, but I keep doing it. I looked at each of them. My mother still standing, tears on her face. Marcus, hands clasped, looking at me with the effort of someone trying to stay present in a moment that was easier to leave. Renee, crumpled and earnest. Linda, composed and warm, holding the room together just by being in it. I love you, I said. I love all of you. That hasn't changed and it's not going to change. I felt the truth of it completely as I said it, no performance, no strategy, just fact. But I need something different from this family. I need to be seen, I need people who show up. I need to stop being fine when I'm not fine. I took a breath. I don't know what that looks like going forward. I don't know what's possible between us, but I know I'm not going back to the way it was. I can't. I survived surgery and I can survive this too, but only if something is actually different. The room held all of it. The grief, the love, the damage, the hope, all of it at once, unsorted, real. My mother sat back down, slowly, and she reached out and took my hand. We stayed like that for a long time. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Not all at once, not in the clean, cinematic way that would make for a tidier story. Slowly, imperfectly, the way real things change. My mother started calling differently. Not just to report on other people's lives, but to ask about mine. Actually ask and then wait for the answer. It was awkward at first. We had no template for this, but we were building one together, one conversation at a time. Marcus came to see me 3 days after the hospital meeting. He didn't call ahead, he just showed up at my door with coffee and the particular expression of a man who knows he's overdue. We sat at my kitchen table for 3 hours and we talked in a way we had never talked before, not surface conversation, not family event small talk, but actual conversation. About our childhood, about the dynamics we'd never named, about what it had meant to be us, each in our own position. It was hard. It was also the closest I had ever felt to my brother. Renee started therapy. She told me about it matter-of-factly one Sunday when we were on the phone, in a tone that made me think it had taken a lot to say it. I told her I was proud of her. I meant it. Linda and I had lunch 3 weeks after the hospital, just the two of us. We talked for 4 hours and barely noticed the time passing. She told me things about my mother's childhood that I hadn't known, difficult things, explanatory things, not excuses, context. The kind of context that doesn't fix anything but helps you hold it differently. I did not change the will. I want to be honest about that. I considered it. But ultimately I decided to leave it as written, at least for now. Not out of punishment or spite, but because the will represented a decision I had made about my own values, about what I wanted to contribute to the world when I was no longer in it. That decision didn't stop being true just because the people it had implicitly responded to had evolved. Maybe someday I'll revise it again. Maybe I won't. What I know is this: I'm not making that decision from a hospital bed anymore. I'm making it from a life that feels, for the first time in a very long time, genuinely mine. I've told this story as honestly as I know how to tell it. And I want to end with the thing I most want you to take from it, not the drama of the will, not the confrontation in the hospital room, but something quieter. There is a version of love that looks like loyalty, but is really just endurance. Staying in relationships that cost you everything and give back very little. Showing up for people who don't show up for you. Being fine when you are not fine. I lived that version for 32 years, and I want to tell you gently but clearly that you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to stop being fine. You are allowed to name what is true. You are allowed to expect the people who love you to actually show up in the ways that matter when it counts. You do not have to almost die for your needs to be legitimate. Your needs are legitimate right now, today, in whatever room you're sitting in. The hospital bed was brutal. But it gave me something I hadn't had before, the absolute clarity of knowing, with no room for doubt, what I would and would not accept from the people I love. I hope you get that clarity without the hospital bed. If this story meant something to you, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. What part hit closest to home? Have you ever been the capable one in your family? I see every single comment. And if you're new here, welcome. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one. I'll keep telling them as honestly as I can. Take care of yourselves, I mean it.